The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to NOVA's webinar, Securely Submitting Your Census Data While Protecting Your Employees. This will be presented today by Lisa Horn-Dielman. She is an assistant team leader out of our Austin office. If you have any questions throughout this presentation, please type them in the questions box, and Lisa will answer them at the end of the presentation. Lisa, we are ready to go.
Thank you. And Andrea, just to be sure, this will be recorded, correct?
Yes, this will be recorded.
All right, thank you. Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for attending. Sorry for the delayed notice on the webinar, but thank you so much for paying attention to our emails and go ahead and registering for today's webinar. I think it'll be really helpful for you in completing your census data collection project for us, especially if it's your first time with NOVA, your first year with NOVA. So we're going to go into it. Just our regular disclaimer, the information in this presentation is general in nature and is not intended to be used as legal or tax advice, so please contact a legal or tax professional should you need specific advice on that front. So our agenda today is NOVA's cybersecurity measures, census request background, deadlines, accessing plansponsorlink.com, the editing guide, year-end data collection project, and the frequently asked questions. So we'll actually go through all 9 steps of the year-end data collection project for most of this webinar. So NOVA has been really diligent the last few years about cybersecurity and what we can do to help protect you and your employees because a lot of bad guys over the past 5 years have noticed how much money is in 401k plans and they try to take it. So there have been coordinated attacks by hackers on record keepers. It could start with a phishing attack or a hack on an employee's email. They then are able to get enough information to where they can contact the record keeper and reset passwords. And then with those new passwords, they can then request a loan or distribution of funds from the employee's account. Typically, on trivial amounts, they can be recovered when the theft is discovered. However, a lot of times on larger amounts it cannot be recovered, and so we really want to do our part to help minimize how the hackers can get participants' money. This type of theft is not covered by the fidelity bond that's required on the retirement plan. Any fiduciary insurance you have on the plan fiduciaries, like the plan trustees, or your company's E&O insurance. So because those 3 policies do not cover this type of theft, you all have to be alert and do our part to prevent these hackers and fraudsters from succeeding in getting participants' money. So there's a lot of different files that do need to be sent securely to NOVA or the record keeper. Census files, deferral files, payroll and address files. Non-discrimination testing files. Most software does mask Social Security numbers, but some do not. NOVA software does, so anytime you get a report from NOVA on compliance testing on the plan, it will have masked Social Security numbers, meaning only the last 4 digits show. Annual evaluation reports usually include masked socials, date of birth, date of hire, so we do send that securely. Tax forms. Tax forms have full 9-digit socials on them with people's names and home addresses. So you definitely want to make sure to send that information securely so that it cannot be retrieved with a hacker going into emails with phishing attacks. Please don't send any of these types of files to NOVA or the record keeper via email without encryption, okay? So how can you do that if you don't have encryption software? Well, NOVA has a couple of ways. Our favorite way to get secure information is through our secure web portal plan sponsor link, okay? You can get there through this website address or even the nova401k.com website. You can get there through that as well. This website includes a secure file exchange feature that allows for secure transmission of data from a plan contact to Nova and vice versa from Nova to the plan contact. So you as a plan contact and Nova employees have to be logged in to this portal to retrieve that information. And all passwords are known to only you. And, so no one else has that password information. We also have encryption software email through Zix Select. So if for some reason you'd rather send us information through the secure email instead of the plan sponsor link web portal, just ask us. We can send you a secure email, and then you can log in to that email, attach whatever files you want to send, and it'll send it securely back to Nova. Okay. Another thing that Nova does is if anybody wants to be added as a plan contact into our system to have access to some of the secure data, we do need proper authorization by an existing contact of the plan. So if you have someone that you want to be added to the plan and to be able to get this information and provide that information to us, we do need authorization from you in email, okay? We cannot just add anybody. Every quarter, there's mandatory training for all Nova employees on cybersecurity, and it is our policy to change passwords at least every 90 days for all record keepers that we deal with within our daily work. So we are trying to be very diligent and trying to help you be more diligent by providing the secure web portal and encryption software. So, you got the year-end census data collection project, and you can upload the census directly into that project through the Plan Sponsor Link web portal. You can use the secure file exchange feature on that same portal, Plan Sponsor Link. You should always limit the number of people copied on emails that has secure information on it, even if it's the encrypted email through Zix Select. And you want to use complex passwords and change them often when dealing with your web portal and your encryption email account, okay? As well as your record keeper account as plan sponsor. That's enough about data security, but that is just what we are doing on our end to try and help keep your participants' information more secure. So the census request background, you should have already received your census request email this week. And there will continue to be monthly reminders until we receive that full census project completed from you, okay? And again, the second half of this webinar, we'll go over that project. It is required because we have to do lots of different required annual tests on the plan every year. That is a regulation by the government. Part of that is annual deferral limits test. So even if you have a safe harbor plan and you're not doing any other kind of employer contributions, we still have to do specific other kinds of testing like deferral limits, compliance, non-discrimination testing, and other things. This data is also used for preparing the required Form 5500 on all plans, including safe harbor plans, as well as the Form 8955 SSA if it's required in that year. Nova is the one that determines if it's required, and we let you know. So, so that's why we need your year-end census data. It's not that we want this information, it's that we need it to do all of the required annual work that regulations specify on the retirement plan. So on the census file portion of the request, we do need every single employee who received W-2 wages for the year. Okay, so for any person who worked with your company in 2019 that got W-2 wages, we need them reported on the census, even if they had not yet met eligibility in the plan, even if they've terminated during the year, or they even worked only one day, we still need them listed on the census, okay? we do ask that you provide W-2 Box 1 and gross wages on the census file. If you have a 1099 employee, they are considered an independent contractor and not an employee, and therefore are not eligible for the plan in any way, shape, or form unless they were to become a W-2 employee. So anyone who gets paid 1099 from your company should not be included in that census file. So here are the deadlines. The reason that NOVA sets specific deadlines for when you provide us the census data is because there are deadlines that the IRS and the Department of Labor have set for certain compliance testing that we have to do. So for those plans that have to have an ADP or ACP test done, the IRS and Department of Labor deadline for those any refunds, if needed, for a failed ADP or ACP test has to be on March 15th. However, March 15th is on a Sunday this year, so the deadline is March 13th to have those refunds processed out of the record keeper and the participant's account. So because of that deadline, NOVA asks that all census data be provided by January 31st and or an extended period of February 14th. The sooner you get us the information, the sooner we can complete the testing and get any refunds distributed if needed, okay? Same with excess deferrals. So for safe harbor plans and any other kinds of plans that have employee deferral contributions, we have to run tests. If anyone exceeds the deferral limits of the plan or regulations for the year, those refunds have to be processed by April 15th. Therefore, we ask that we have the census by March 13th for safe harbor plans, okay? Or non-ADP, ACP tested plans, excuse me. So that's why we provide that deadline. The Form 5500 and 8955 SSA informational tax forms have to be filed by July 31st. That's without extension. If you do need an extension, we can extend it to October 15th, but there is a charge. So, so you do want to get us the census data within these NOVA deadlines, and that will ensure that we can get your Form 5500 and 8955 SSA out in time for the first deadline without extension. And these dates are all for calendar year plans, so 12/31/19 plans. If you have different calendar year-end date plans, contact your account manager and they can let you know what the deadlines are for those plans. So plansponsorlink.com, again, this is the link to the website. This is what it will look like. The username is always the email address that NOVA has on file for you. So if your email address changes, you need to make sure that you've notified your NOVA account manager so that they can update it with your new email address so that it matches for your username on your login. If you've logged in before but you can't remember your password, simply click Forgot Password. It'll send a temporary one to your email, and then you can create a new password. NOVA does not have any password information, so we cannot help you obtain your password if you've forgotten it. If you've never created your login, click on First Time User. Temporary password will be sent to your email, and it'll ask you to create a new password. If you want to be like NOVA and change your password with every quarter of the year or sooner or whatever, you can change your password once you've logged in at any time. Just click on the drop-down arrow next to your name and click on Change Password. Okay, so you can change your password at any time. This editing guide is for within Plan Sponsor Link, your year-end census data collection project. So we're just going to go over it real quick because that way when you're in the project, you can refer back to this and go back to this editing guide as kind of a key if you have questions. So if you want to add something, you click on the green plus sign. And to edit anything, click on the piece of paper with a pencil. If you need to delete any errors, the red hash sign. Once you've completed each of the 9 tasks, click on Save. Once it has fully taken the save, you'll get a green check mark that that task was successfully saved and is completed, okay? And I don't know, I can't remember if Andrea mentioned this, but we do have these slides on PDF version, so we can send them to all of you after this webinar. So, and then there will also be a recorded version on our website for you to go back and view. So your year-end data collection project, this is what it looks like once you've logged in. So it'll be under year-end data collection 1119 to 12/31/19. All you do is click on begin task, and then you'll see the steps, okay? There's 9 steps. When you first click on, there will not be check marks. This is what it looks like when you are fully done. Each task has been completed and saved, and you can click on your approval part. But until then, this is what it looks like. You have little blank arrows to let you know that the steps have not been completed or which ones have been completed if they have the green check mark. So what we're going to do, so for each task, you have this in notes. So if there's any information that you think it's necessary for your NOVA account manager to know where you cannot provide it within the actual task, just click on notes, write out whatever it is, and your account manager will see it once we get the completed project back from you. So the more information, the better when it's something unusual. So we do like for you to use that notes button. So we're going to go through each of the 9 steps one by one, and the majority of them will not take very long at all, and then the last couple will take the longest of this webinar. So step 1, this is pre-populated with the information that NOVA has on file for you. You can make revisions, you can add information, you can edit, you can add, review, you cannot delete. So if anything needs to be deleted, please let your NOVA account manager know. You can do that by clicking on the notes button or sending an email to your account manager. But you're already in here, it should already have that notes button. You can click it and say so-and-so should be deleted. Number 2, again, this one is pre-populated. So review it, make any revisions or additions, and then save the step. The NAICS business code. The reason we ask for that, it's what your business code is reported as on your company tax return. We ask for this information because the same 6-digit code that's on your company tax return needs to be reported on the Form 5500 for the plan. So we prefer those codes to match. So if you provide us that code, we can ensure that the one that is listed on the 5500 matches to your company tax return, okay? Payroll provider, if you do it in-house, click in-house, type in in-house, and frequency. This is very helpful so that we can have the correct frequency for if your plan allows for loans, so for loan repayment amortization schedules, or if we need to do a contribution reconciliation for any reason. So it is very helpful for us to have that information. Step 3, principals. This is only pre-populated if you've already entered the information in the prior year. If it's your first year with NOVA, then you will not see any names and you will have to fill this out. So we need total ownership and we need all officers, okay? So total ownership must add up to at least 100%. The reason it could be more is because if you have one person, let's say Jane Smith, was an owner for the first half of 2019, but then she sold her shares to John Doe, then we need both of them listed with their percentage of ownership, and then make a note that says Jane Smith's ownership was then sold to Joe, whatever his name was that I said. And so that's why you could have more than 100% ownership, because even if they had ownership but they sold it throughout the year, we still need any ownership throughout the year, okay? And then we need notes on that. Officers is also important. Even if they don't have ownership, list them with an officer and then just put 0 ownership. And you can have ownership without them being an officer, okay? So it doesn't have to be 1 and 1. If you have a nonprofit or a publicly traded company, just put nonprofit and 100%, publicly traded and 100%. We do understand that that is a thing. If you have an outside corporation or a trust as an owner, we do need ownership listed by persons within that entity. So you could have, you know, Jane Smith Trust 100%, but within that trust, we need who all the owners of that trust are and their percentage. Okay, very important. If more than one entity sponsors your plan, please complete ownership for each entity. And again, total ownership must add up to at least 100%. Step 4, do you have any family relations who are working with the company? Okay, so let's say you have employees of the company that are related to a direct owner, meaning children, includes adopted children, spouses, parents, or grandparents. If you do have any people who are related to the owner who are employees of the company, of the plan, please add them here. This is, again, very important for our highly compensated employee test and our key employee test, as those tests reflect a couple of other tests that we have to do annually. So it's very important to get full information. Again, if you have a nonprofit or publicly traded company, or you just have no employees who are related to a direct owner, then leave it blank. This does not require entries if there are no need for those entries, okay? If you have siblings who are related to one of the owners, they might not be considered a highly compensated or a key employee. However, it is really nice to include them so that if we see someone with the same last name as the owner, we don't have to go back and ask you how they're related. You've already provided that information. So it's really nice for any relations, even if it's not one of these, but like a cousin or a sibling or something, if they have the same last name of an owner, if you just list them out, that's very helpful. Step 5. This step is incredibly important for control group affiliated service group determination. It applies if additional businesses are owned by the owners of the plan sponsor company, the owner's spouse, or the owner's children, okay? And then please complete all sections that have entries, allow entries. And then list the ownership of those businesses, and again, please make sure it adds up to at least 100%. So if you have owner Jane Smith and her husband John Smith owns another company, we need to know that other company, and we need to know what the ownership is of that other company, and if there are employees and if they have their own plan. So it's very important to have this information as well. And if you, the person who's filling this out, aren't quite sure, you may have to go to the owner or the company's CPA or somebody to find out that information. Step 6 are the contacts that we have for the plan in our system. So again, it's pre-populated and it lists all the contacts related to the plan. You can add new contacts, but again, you cannot delete them. So if you want the contact removed, then add a note or email your account manager. But since you're already in the project, you know, it's just fine to click on that green note button and go ahead and enter in who should be removed. All right, now we're getting into the last 3 steps, 7, 8, and 9, and these ones take the most to go over, so we're going to go over them all one by one for each question. Step 7 is the employer questionnaire. This relates to compliance testing and the Form 5500 completion. Most questions are yes, no, or not sure for the answers. And if you aren't sure how to answer anything, please contact your account manager either by email or phone, and they can help you out and talk you through it so that you can better understand how to answer. So questions 1 through 3 are just confirming that you did list all officers and owners of the company, including their family members, within those prior steps. So it's kind of like a reminder that those prior steps need to be completed. Questions 4 and 5 applies only if the plan sponsor company is a sole proprietorship or partnership. If it's a company that's taxed as an S-Corp, we do not need that K-1. So 4 and 5 is asking if it's a partnership where the owner reports their taxes on a Schedule C, we need a copy of that. And or if it's a partnership where the owners report their income on a K-1, we need a copy of that. If it is taxed as a S-Corp, we do not need that K-1, okay? So like I said on the other businesses step, the reason we need a list of all those other businesses is to help y'all kind of determine if the plan is a control group with other companies or affiliated service group with other companies. So 6 and 7 relates to that. If you already know that your company has a control group with other companies, or if it's an affiliated service group, then you would answer yes to that. If you're not sure, or if you know for a fact that you're not either one of those, then you can mark no. We already have this information listed in the plan document for your company, but if what you answer here is different than the plan document, then we know that we need to ask more questions and maybe amend the document to reflect any changes, okay? Number 8 is asking if there was change in ownership, the purchase of a new company or a sale of a new company. Again, this is kind of a reminder to complete the prior steps fully as possible. And like I said, we need ownership for anyone who was an owner. And so if there was a change in ownership, mark yes here and provide that detail in the notes tab, on the notes button, okay? Same with purchase or sale of a company. If you have any other employees being paid W-2 wages but not included on the census, you would answer yes and then put a note as to why they weren't included, okay, why you think they shouldn't be included. Most times, 99.9% of the times, anybody who gets W-2 income from your company should be included on the census, okay, but there are exceptions. If you have any leased employees, let us know. And if you have any rehired employees, if you answer yes there, then, and we don't see rehire dates on the census file, we will come back and contact you for that information. So if you do have rehired employees, we do need their rehire dates. And I'll go into that on step 9, a little more detail. If you have another qualified plan that is not with NOVA, you would mark yes on number 12. That means like an ESOP or a defined benefit or money purchase plan or something. So if you have another retirement plan, but NOVA is not the TPA, please let us know. So question 13 is asking if the employer, the plan sponsor company, maintains any of the following: a cafeteria plan, section 125 plan, employer sponsored health savings account. If yes, and the employees are allowed to contribute pre-tax contributions into that type of plan, please answer yes and provide that information on the census file, okay? If you answer yes here and we don't see any information on the census file, we will come back and talk to you about that because we do need that information. So if y'all maintain any of these kinds of plans where the employee can fund pre-tax contributions into this type of plan within your insurance policies, please let us know and provide that information. Question 14 asks if the plan allows for Roth 401k, which is post-tax employee deferral contributions. We know if the plan document allows for this. We ask you this question because we found out many, many years ago, people were answering yes, but the plan document actually did not allow for Roth. So this is kind of a check and balance to see if you think the plan is one way, but the document says something different. That way we can figure out what the disconnect is and make changes as needed. Question 15 is applicable for IACA or CLACA plans only. Those are automatic enrollment plans. And some automatic enrollment plans, if you are an automatic enrollment plan and it allows for permissible withdrawal period, this is asking you yes or no. Again, we know what the plan document states. This is more of a check and balance to see if you understand how the plan is run so that we can have further communications with you so that we're all on the same page and determine if the plan document needs to be updated, but only on automatic enrollment plans, okay? 16 through 19 are having to deal with employer contributions. So the first one says, if you funded any additional employer contributions during the year for the year being tested, how were they allocated? So let's say you did an employer match contribution. What formula did you use? Was it 50% match up to 6% deferrals, 100% match up to 3%? What was that formula, okay? Or would you like NOVA to calculate a discretionary employer contribution? Yes, no, like a profit sharing or an additional discretionary match, you know, and if it was yes, indicate the total amount, percentage, or formula that you would like calculated, or you can just simply type in maximum possible, you know. If you do want NOVA to calculate an additional discretionary employer contribution and you had an employee who became disabled or deceased during the plan year, please mark yes and then provide the name of those employees within the notes of the project. That if someone became fully disabled or deceased during the year, that can affect the allocation for the discretionary profit sharing or additional match contributions, so we do need that information, okay? Is saying that if you have a life insurance policy within the retirement plan, mark yes and then send us that policy information, okay? Most plans these days do not have insurance within the retirement plan because it causes a lot of issues, but there are still the residual very few. If you are one of those plans that does allow insurance premiums to be paid through the plan, mark yes and send us that information. Number 21 is asking if the plan had a partial plan termination in 2019. What this means is more than 20% of your workforce terminated during the year. If you know for a fact that more than 20% of your workforce was terminated during the year, then mark yes, and we will help you determine if you have a partial plan termination or not, okay? If you're not sure, say not sure. If you know for a fact that you did not have 20% terminate, then you can mark no. And is an extension being requested to file the tax return? Again, your answers are yes, no, not sure. So if your company is filing an extension on the tax return, that helps us kind of determine when you need to have any additional employer contribution allocations to you. Because employer contributions have to be funded by the 2019 company tax return due date. So if you're going to file an extension, that gives more time to get the allocation to you so that you can then fund it in time to file that tax return. So that's the end of step 7. Lots of questions, but again, they're all answered yes, no, or not sure. And if you do have additional questions, you can ask your account manager. And again, please ask questions in your GoToWebinar bar, and I will answer them at the end. Step 8 is again a questionnaire, but a lot fewer questions than step 7. And all of these are because these questions are on the Form 5500 informational tax return that we complete for you on the retirement plan. So we fill out the Form 5500 for y'all to then just file and submit to the Department of Labor and the IRS. So, but we still need your answers to these questions. First one is very important. Basically, the regulations state that if you are a plan where you do not need to have an audit on the plan every year, you have 7 business days to submit employee contributions to their accounts at the record keeper. And when I say record keeper, I mean John Hancock, Transamerica, Voya, Empower, Charles Schwab, any of those places where you send the money of the contributions of the plan. So you have 7 business days from the payroll date. If you're a large plan where you do have to have an audit every year, it's usually between 3 and 5 business days. So if you know for a fact that you had payrolls that were deposited late, go ahead and answer yes. It's very important because this is a huge audit area for the Department of Labor for random audits. So we need to know if you have late deposits or not, because it does need to be reported on the Form 5500. 3, 4, and 5, usually those are answered no. This doesn't happen very often in retirement plans anymore. It used to happen a lot more often. So if you know any of these happened, go ahead and answer yes. But if you don't know that any of these happened, no is the best answer, because most likely they did not happen. 5 and 6 have to do with a fidelity bond. Retirement plans are required to have a fidelity bond coverage of at least 10% of the total plan assets up to a maximum of $500,000. So we ask what your bond amount coverage is. And if you don't have a bond, we actually provide a link for you to immediately purchase coverage for your plan if you don't already have that. If you aren't sure if you have it, I would definitely contact your general insurance agent to see if you have one with them. And if you don't want to use Colonial Surety, who is the person for the link that we provide, you can also see if your general insurance agency offers fidelity bond coverage, okay? So the remaining questions, again, most of them will be no, but we'll go over them. Did the plan have a loss, whether or not reimbursed by the plan's fidelity bond that was caused by fraud or dishonesty? So if your plan had fraud or dishonesty because whoever was submitting the contributions decided to submit the contributions into their own bank account, we need to know this. Hopefully this answer is always no for you. But for instance, in the year of the Bernie Madoff scandal, you know, a bunch of plans had this marked yes because they had investments with them and there was fraud. So that's when that is usually answered. Yes. Did the plan hold assets whose current value is neither readily determinable in an established market nor set by an independent third-party appraiser? Basically, most of you have your assets of the plan. The contributions are funded into the stock market, whether it's investments, mutual funds, treasury bonds, something like that. So it is readily determinable on an established market. However, there are a few plans who invest in other items where it's only appraised once a year. So if you have that kind of investment, answer yes and provide that appraisal information to your account manager. Most plans should not receive any contributions. That's a non-cash form. You know, all contributions should be funded as cash through payroll system and the company bank account. So hopefully that is a no for you. Were any plan transactions or series of transactions in excess of 5% of the current value of plan assets? You will know this because your record keeper will provide the schedule of the transactions. So if your record keeper like Charles Schwab or Edward Jones or somebody sends you a report, then mark this yes and provide that schedule of transactions to your NOVA account manager, okay? Were all the plan assets either distributed to participants or beneficiaries, transferred to another plan, or brought under the control of the PBGC? This is only for a terminating plan. That means you would only mark yes if the plan is terminating and all plan assets and the plan assets are at 0, okay? And has the plan failed to provide any benefit when due under the plan? Hopefully that is no. What that is asking is, did a participant request a distribution of their account and the plan failed to provide that distribution? That's when you answer yes. Okay, so hopefully your answer is no. Last 2 questions for this step. Did you have a blackout notice, a blackout period during the year because your plan moved investments? If yes, you should have had a blackout notice. And did the plan have investments in outside brokerage accounts or pooled accounts which have not been provided to NOVA? So if you have money in Vanguard and we are not getting duplicate statements for those retirement plan funds at Vanguard, you need to mark yes and provide us that information. If you have a defined benefit plan, there may be a few additional questions, but that's it for step 8. You save and you move on. We're doing good. Step 9. Okay, so here's the nitty-gritty where you provide all of the employee census data. Okay, you can import Census File as an Excel file. So this is what it would look like. If you have completed this project in a prior year or someone else with your company did, it'll show prior year's employees listed on here. If it's your first year with NOVA, it will show up blank like this, okay? So there are a couple ways that you can provide NOVA with census data. Number 1, you can do manual entry. For instance, you only have 3 people in your company. You can click add, okay, click add here, and what's going to show up is this pop-up with a toolbar to move down, and you can add information that way manually for each employee. All right, there is a scroll down, so don't forget to scroll down to finish completing what's needed. All right. So that's the manual entry. This is very time consuming. So we suggest you only do it if you have 5 or fewer employees. What you can do is download our census template, click on export. So going back here, you have import and export. So you would click on export and it's going to give you the option of which Excel file, whether it's XLS or XLSX. And it depends on which Windows version you're using. So you want to pull up which file you need and save that file to your directory. Once you've saved it and you open it, you're going to see 2 worksheets, instructions and employees. Do not delete either worksheet. Do not change either worksheet's name, okay? Do not alter the format of the spreadsheets, okay? Because if you leave the formatting and the naming convention the exact same, then you can import the file once you've entered in all the employee information back into this step 9. Again, all employees who receive W-2 wages in 19 should be reported. Any owner who receives a partnership K-1 or Schedule C income in 2019 does need to be listed, even if you don't know their compensation yet, because you know, we don't have a K-1 or Schedule C yet. Please still include their basic information on there because we do need their social, date of birth, date of hire, and all that. As I said before, include all terminees from 2019 and anyone who receives W-2 wages, even if they are not yet eligible to participate in the plan. If you have an active employee who is not terminated but had no compensation in 2019, please make a note as to why they're still active and why they had no compensation, okay? That's very helpful for us. There is a new thing this year. We have address columns are now available on the end of the census data file spreadsheet, and so you can provide addresses of participants to help with our distribution team when someone requests a distribution. Okay, so that's why it's helpful for that. Rehired employees, as I stated earlier, we do need that date of rehire. So what we need is the original date of hire, their most recent date of termination, and their most recent date of rehire. If you're a new plan with NOVA and you have an employee who's been rehired and terminated 3 times, please leave a note for your account manager for who that employee is and all of their termination and rehire dates, as well as their original hire date. Okay, that really does help us determine eligibility and vesting. As I stated earlier, if you have a sole proprietorship or a partnership, we do need Schedule C or K1. We do realize that generally these are not available until later in the year. If you have any way to send a draft copy, that is very helpful. We will continue to send requests for this data until we get it. So even if you send us the census file for all employees, but we're still waiting on the Schedule C or K1, we will continue to send emails saying that we are still missing census data to remind you to keep up with that K1 or Schedule C from the company's CPA, okay? Once you get a draft and a final copy, please send it to your account manager through the Secure File Exchange. And I will show y'all how to do that in a couple of slides. Once you've filled out the census data with all the employee information, save the file back to your computer, log back into Plan Sponsor Link website, go to step 9 and click on the import button to upload that census. Okay, you'll receive a message that says it was successful. There is a system message for errors. If you have errors, then you can send the file a different way. And instead of completing that step 9 with the census data, simply click save. It'll give you this pop-up and you can say skip this step, okay? If you can't figure out what those errors were for importing, just skip this step and then send us that file through the Secure File Exchange. So how we do that is when you're in your Plan Sponsor link, you click on the Secure File Exchange, click on New Exchange, find your census file from your computer, find your account manager's name, and then send it. An email will go to your account manager to say that so-and-so uploaded this file for your account manager to go in and download, all right? This is also how you send K1s, Schedule Cs, any other important information to your account manager throughout the entire year is through the Secure File Exchange, okay? Also, the third way to send us your census data, if you already have all this information or your payroll provider has a year-end census file as an Excel file, you can simply send us what you have in Excel format. It doesn't have to be our exact format as long as it's in Excel. We do require the census data either through Plan Sponsor Link or as an Excel file, okay? So if you already have this information in your own formatted Excel file, you can send that to us through the Secure File Exchange as well. So it does not have to be in our specific template as long as it's in Excel. More information, just a reminder, if you have assets held at brokerage firms other than the main record keepers, so for instance, like I said earlier, Charles Schwab, Edward Jones, Vanguard, you know, any of those, if we aren't getting duplicate statements, we do need copies of those monthly or quarterly statements. And we do ask that you set us up to receive duplicate statements. That's why you don't have to worry about sending it to us. We cannot complete those Form 5500s without all the statements for 2019. And we will continue to send out reminders if we're missing that information. Once all 9 steps have been complete and you finish the approval step, you will get this thumbs up and you have successfully completed the entire process, and it will then go to your NOVA account manager to let us know that it has been completed, okay? You do not have to complete all 9 steps at the same time. You can complete a few steps, log out, log back in, complete more, and all that. So you do not have to do it all at one time. If you need to start it, log out, and then complete it at another date, you can do that, okay? Once it has been completed, you can download what you completed. So once you're in your plan sponsor link, you can go to this data collection tab, and every year that has been completed with NOVA will be on there, and you can download a report. And it provides all 9 steps on 9 different worksheets in Excel file, and you can see what was answered. You cannot edit it or change it, but you can see what had been answered and completed for your files. So some people need help with the census information. NOVA has a sister company called AFS 316, or Administrative Fiduciary Services, Inc. They can help with census submission services, but in order to do this, you have to have an online payroll provider, certain ones. AFS will require read-only access, so we cannot edit your payroll information, but we would have read-only access. And then they would be able to go in and upload that census data to Plan Sponsor Link for a fee of $300. If you're interested in this and you think that you have a payroll provider who has online service, you can contact Jake Holzniak with AFS 316 at this email and get in contact with him, and he can tell you if your payroll provider works with this, and they can work with you to help out to get this census submission complete, okay? We've already gone through almost all of these Q&As, so I'm not going to do it again, really, because we have done it, except for this one, number 2. What if you have 2 divisions to import into Plan Sponsor Link? You can combine like if you have census information on an Excel file of your own format, but for 2 different divisions or 2 different companies, combine it into one file and import it into Plan Sponsor Link, or simply send the 2 different census files to your NOVA account manager through that secure file exchange. You cannot import more than 1 file into that import step of step 9, okay? But you can send multiple files through secure file exchange, okay? Yep. So we're getting close to time, so let's go ahead and take questions. Again, this is being recorded, and so within a couple of days, you will be able to, like a day or 2, you'll be able to find this recording under NOVA's website, Events, Webinars, Webinar Recordings. If you have any questions, generic questions, you can email census@nova401k.com. It'll come to myself or one of my coworkers, and we can answer it for you. Or you can always contact your NOVA account manager. And within the next couple of weeks, we're going to have an update on all of our 2020 free webinars. So you can go to this link to look at all of our upcoming webinars throughout the year. They are free, and you can go ahead and register for those. Andrea, do we have any questions?
Yes, we've had 2 questions submitted. Again, if you do have a question that you'd like Lisa to go ahead and answer, just go ahead and type that in the questions box, and we'll go ahead and take care of that today. But if not, and you're going through this and you have a question or something comes up or your import's not working, please contact your NOVA account manager. They'd be happy to walk you through the process. First question we've received: I'm the owner's brother and the administrator of the plan. Am I considered an officer?
No, well, maybe. An officer is considered a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, that kind of title within the company. So the plan administrator is not an officer title, but if you have a different kind of title like vice president or secretary or something like that, then you would be considered an officer.
All right, another question. I need to wait for the W-2s, right?
Yes, yes, that is definitely the best thing, is to wait for W-2s. I'm sure that you have a payroll report that you can run, and you could probably start entering in the census data with that payroll report if you know for a fact that it'll match the W-2s. For instance, if you use ADP or Paylocity or something, or Paychecks, most of the time those year-end reports that you receive will directly match the W-2s. So you can go ahead and enter in the census data if you know that they will match what the W-2s state. So I guess that's a yes and no question.
And a follow-up on that previous one, the previous question, they said they only have the owners and this person as the administrator concerning the officer question.
So in that case, I would say there are no officers. However, since he is the brother of the owner, you definitely want to put yourself in the family relationship. But unless the company has specifically stated that you have the title of an officer, then I would consider that there are no officers. There is the owner and then the family relationship of the brother.
All right, and that's all the questions we've had so far. Again, the recording of this will be available on NOVA's website by next week. It does take us a couple days to get that uploaded, so that'll be available on the website next week if you'd like to either view that again or if there's somebody else at your company that's going to assist you with this data submission. Also, I will send out the PDF of the slides that were used today to everyone that was on today's webinar. And so you don't need to send me anything. I will just go ahead and send that to the email that you registered with. For any reason you don't get that email by tomorrow afternoon, I will be sending it today. But if for some reason you don't get it by tomorrow afternoon, first, of course, check your junk folder. But you can go ahead and send me an email and I'll go ahead and get you a copy of that. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your day. We really do appreciate it. Lisa, thank you. Everyone, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you all for attending. Have a great day.